You're here. Welcome to the Masterminding Success podcast. They say if you want to be successful in business and in life, then surround yourself with successful people. So pull up a seat. The mastermind is about to begin.
So then he says, being married is like eating a Sour Patch Kid in reverse.
What does that mean?
Hey, glad you could join us for another episode of the Masterminding Success podcast. We're your hosts, Keith Wheeler.
And Nuria Corby. I forgot my name there for a minute.
And what are we talking about today, Nuria?
We're not talking about Sour Patch Kids.
We are not.
I don't know where that came from. We're going to have questions from our followers and the people that listen to our podcast, because today is our 100th episode. So yay!
Yep. For anybody who has been following us from the beginning would know that what I just did there when the first couple episodes I did these. I called them stupid starters, just something that a statement or a question or something that I had written down. Nuri had no clue what I was going to say, as you just heard. And so I actually went back, and that was, I believe, the very first one I did. And so just as a little nostalgic tip of the hat to those people who've been around since the beginning, that was for you. So
that was very funny, because it caught me by surprise. And I can't even remember that I remember we used to do that, but I couldn't remember this particular question.
Yeah, I'm based on because I had a list of them, and it's at the top, so I'm guessing it was either the first one or one of the first ones. So I saw it and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that again. So again, little tip of the hat to those people who've been here. Yeah,
it brings back happy memories.
Yeah, I mean, that was our first episode was in 2022, I believe. So yeah, it's been a while coming. So again, a shout out to all those people who've been with us since the beginning.
Yeah, and I have to say, and I'm sure, Keith, you think the same, I really enjoyed it. I think it's been a really fun thing to do, this podcast. I don't know whether you feel the same, but for me, it's always been very relaxing, very like I'm talking to friends and we're just having a nice chat. It's never been a chore or anything like that. It's a fun thing to do.
It is. Yeah. And when the first few episodes we did, we had a topic that we were going to talk about, and we planned them far in advance. And what are we going to talk about next week? And while that was fun and it was nice to kind of know what you were going to talk about, I like the way we've done it since then, to where it's more, like you said, it's more natural. We're not prepared. We don't have this big list prepared, and it's more natural with what a mastermind really is. Where it is just people talking about whatever topic, but we don't go into it planning ahead. For a little behind the scenes, we literally, before we start recording, we have a list of some ideas that we might talk about, and we just pick right then and there what the main topic's going to be, and that's it. That's again, we have lists ahead of time, and there might be 30 or 40 on the list, and we just choose right before we start recording the episode. So there really is no prep. What you're getting from us is our initial thoughts and feelings and ideas on a topic. And so, like I said, that there might be some ums in there, because again, it's natural. It's not it's not prepared. And I think that's one thing that I absolutely love about it, is because it feels so natural. It is just like just having a chat, having a cup of coffee and just chatting.
Yeah. And I like that we pick the topic at the beginning of the episode. We don't know what we're going to do that week, but we just pick one. And sometimes we think, oh, can we talk about this enough? Will this be a really short episode?
Yep.
And the usual thing that happens is that we go over the planned time. I think you and me both can talk about, especially publishing topics. We can talk about them till the cows come home. So we've got no problem in having a longer episode. But it's quite interesting to actually experience that, because we do sometimes think, oh, we might not be able to have much to talk about this subject. And then it turns out that we do.
Yeah. No, agreed. Because, because it's so natural, I'll say something that you pick up on, and, it leads to, some more, deeper conversations. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So today we're having questions, aren't we?
Yes, we have questions. Nuri and I have both collected these questions from everywhere, from the YouTube channel, the actual comments that get left on the podcasts on the different platforms, whether it's Spotify or Buzzsprout, and other platforms like that. Also through our Facebook groups, through newsletters, all those, we've kind of curated questions that have come from you. And if we have a name to go along with it, we will, we'll mention and give them a little shout out. But a lot of the ones that I have written down didn't have a name, or just had some big lengthy. If it's from the YouTube channel, it might just have big lengthy tag that I'm not gonna bother saying that long out. But
yeah, great. So what shall we do? Shall we just start and maybe read out the first question that you've got?
Sure. I can start. This very first question is, I get this frequently, which is, how much was your first KDP paycheck?
Wow, what a question. Oh, I think I know what my first KDP paycheck was. And I started back in 2019, and it was November 2019. So it was in the middle of Q4, but I had literally just started in the November. And that means I would have got paid in January, I think, January or February the following year, 2020. And I remember that my first payment was $36, something like that, $30 odd, which isn't a lot, but it's still something. And a lot of people, I didn't even expect to get anything, to be honest, because I just started. And obviously it helped that I started publishing in Q4, and I was over the moon. And I thought, if I can make $36, I can make $100. I thought that's the way. And I was really positive about how this would progress, but never in a million years would I have thought that one day I'd be teaching how to do it, and I'd have a community of people that listen to what I've learned and what I do. And I never thought that it would become my full-time income. I mean, that was the idea, that was the aim, but it became my full-time income. And not only that, it became an income so that my husband could leave his job as well and then come into the business with me. And he does books now, and he's got a full-time income as well. So it's been a long time since then. So since 2019, that's 7 years. Well, it's really 6 years, because it was at the end of 2019. So 6 years sounds like a long time, but it's really flown by, and I can't believe how much I've done in 6 years. So yeah, that's my story. What about you, Keith?
Okay, so the short answer is, when I started, I didn't get paid by KDP. I got paid by CreateSpace. My first book was published in 2016, and it was in November of 2016. And I didn't know, it actually was something I created for my daughter. It wasn't even meant to really sell. I mean, I put it up there, but didn't promote it, didn't do anything. And my first paycheck was, because CreateSpace, do miss them for this, is that they paid every 30 days instead of 60 days. That was nice. But in December, I don't think I got anything, but come January, I had 7 sales and made $15.39. And that was enough to catch the bug, where I was like, okay, I'm not promoting this at all. I'm not telling anybody about it, and I'm selling, copies. Again, it was Q4, so that was helpful. But again, that's all I needed. It's all I needed to get the bug and be like, okay, just imagine if I actually try, what can I do? And so the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to know after that, when was it that you thought, I'm going to start teaching this? I'm going to have a YouTube channel. How was that process for you?
My YouTube channel started in 2017, and so a little less than a full year. But it really came down to I was in some Facebook groups and followed other YouTube channels, and made some I would help out when people would ask questions. Not always. The creator may not have time to answer every question, so I would chime in where I could. And a buddy of ours, Dale Roberts, had said, "You know what? You have too much knowledge to not be sharing it." And so that's when I was like, okay. And then I started doing the YouTube channel.
Oh, that's a really good story. That sounds good. Mine actually was on something completely different. I started my channel about blogging because that's what I was doing at the time. And my first few videos are all about how to create a blog. And then it kind of evolved from there, because it was through blogging that I found KDP. I think I read somebody's blog on how they created books on KDP. So that's how that happened. So it's amazing how life has a way of steering you in a certain direction. What's meant to be is meant to be, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And there's a lot of people who I know, and I just got an email about this recently, that, they say, I was creating books and I didn't see any success in it. So then I stopped. But now I want to try again. If there's a reason why you keep coming back to it, stop fighting it. There's a reason. It's not going to go away if it really is your passion, and if it's meant to be. It really just don't quit in between.
Yeah, I think it's
so because if just imagine where either one of us would be if we did quit.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah. Do you like I said, I've got more questions listed down here, but you want to list off one of yours?
Yeah, sure. I've got to read them off my screen here. So I've got a question from Andrew, who's in my Facebook group, and he actually asked this question in the group and he got some replies, but it'd be good to ask that question again here because it's a good question. He says, do you have any advice for advertising offline? I don't have much disposable cash for ads, especially with the prices going up. Currently, I have a book in the gardening and fitness niches. And he said, I've asked this question here before and got good answers. I figured other people in my situation may have the same question. And that's totally right. Yes, I think a lot of people do have the same question. So, yes, what do you think? Promoting your books without ads, how can you go about that?
There's kind of two things. One is, without ads, you'll have people saying that, promote it in your social media. And I'm fine with that. My mentality is, think of places what are you doing every single day? Like you're sending emails every day. Can you put a link to your website or to that book in your email description or a signature, an email signature, put it right in there. Or like you said, with social media, have it in a link tree. There are a lot of free things that you can do. Get with other authors or creators in your niche. Stop thinking of people as your enemy, and they are, they're not your competition. People don't read just one book. People don't use just one puzzle book. You know what I mean? So they don't have to be your competition. They can, you can use each other's as a resource, and share each other's books in each other's newsletter. Do what they call newsletter swaps, things like that. You can do the same thing with book launches. But one thing that he had mentioned was offline, And when I think of offline, I'm thinking not on the internet. So think of local places. I've had articles in the local newspaper that they've written about me as an author, not because I'm a YouTuber or anything else, but as an author. There's so much negativity in the world. People want to hear those feel good stories. And especially if it's somebody local, looking to putting your books in local bookstores. There's so many things locally. If you write children's books, check out the local elementary schools or whatever grade is relevant to your books, and see about doing an author visit, see about doing a talk. There's so many, and everything I've just said, that's all free. Check out, you can be on, check out podcasts, check out, blogs. We were talking about blogging earlier. There's so many different free options out there. And, I'm not saying you have to spend a bunch of money and put a billboard up and, on the highway right outside your hometown, but just doing these local things and even maybe not the town you live in, but don't just limit yourself to that. I'm right now I live in a state that's 1,100 miles from the state that I grew up in. And, so I have a quote hometown there. I can reach out to them. And that's, again, completely different state, but also states I've never even been in. I have carrying my books. And all of it was basically free, with the exception of, some bookstores I'll give a free complimentary copy, or I'll do it on consignment, especially when you first are starting out working with them. And, it alleviates them from having to invest anything. You can say, look, I'll give you these, these 5 copies, and when they sell, I'll get X amount from it, again, on consignment. So none of this is spending a ton of money.
I know. They're good ideas there. And since Andrew's asking the question, and he's in the gardening and in fitness niches, I was in the gardening niche because obviously I had my gardening blog. That's how I started before I even knew anything about KDP. And I had the gardening blog, and I had a Facebook, and I think an Instagram for it as well. It's a fantastic niche for Instagram because pictures of gardens really grows your Instagram. So, that's another way. Unfortunately, if someone doesn't like social media, that's not for them, but social media for those type of niches is brilliant. Anything that's very visual and where you can give lots of advice, you can absolutely promote your books on social media. And the other thing that I used to do, not for books, but I used to do them for my jewelry business, is school fairs and Christmas fairs and summer fairs and whatever fairs there were, mainly in schools. But I also did parties, like jewelry parties in people's houses. So I used to take a selection of my jewelry. We used to have coffee or drinks or whatever, and we used to chat. And then I used to show them the jewelry. There's nothing to say you can't do that with books. You can have book parties. You can arrange all of those things. And especially in the gardening niche, you could go, I know here in the UK, garden centres are very popular, and they always have a bookstore. There's always books that they're selling in garden centres, and you could approach them and ask if they would like to have some of your books. And if they sell some, then that's obviously money that you've earned. But it's not just the money that you're earning from that. It's getting your books seen. It's the visibility that you gain from things like that. So yeah, unfortunately, I keep saying social media is the best way to do it. But you had some really good tips there by having the name of your books or your niche in your email signature, for example. That's a really good way to do it. So yeah, there's lots of ways. There's Substack as well. I've recently joined Substack, and you can talk about your niche there, and that's free. And the good thing about Substack is you can build your email list as well, because as people subscribe to you, you've then got their emails. So you're not
Right.
just creating an outlet or a community for people to get to know your books, you're also actually building your email list. So that's another good way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you said something about reaching out to like garden centers and things like that, because that, I mean, my children's books, my puzzle books, activity books, I've done all those at, holiday trade shows and things like that. And, again, other than buying the books, and I'm buying them at author copy price, not, not the full sales price. And so I'm not spending a ton of money, but I'm able and there's something about seeing the actual customer face to face.
Yeah.
And, and I'll have I do a whole nother episode on face to face sales, but, I'll have a clipboard there where people can write their email address to sign up for my newsletter right there. And, so that way I don't have to send them somewhere else. And then, then they forget or whatever. No, right there. Or if you run out, you only brought 20 copies and you've sold them out, great. Have a piece of paper there with a QR code that sends them right to that page, or maybe that page, to that book on your website, where it's a little bit cheaper than it is on Amazon, So again, they've got more of an excuse to buy it from your website than from Amazon. So many different options, but always having, options. Like I said, if you're seeing them in person, having a way to collect their email address, and having a way, if you run out, a backup plan, not sending them to Amazon and they're going to forget to do it or whatever. The QR code's right here. You can do it right here. And if you do it with this QR code, you'll save $3 or whatever.
Yeah. And think about it as in, whatever your book niche is, because I was thinking, yes, the gardening planners, great for garden centers, but what if you have a wedding planner, something like that? Wedding fairs is a big thing. I used to go and sell my jewelry at wedding fairs, and you could absolutely take a bunch of books that are wedding related, like a wedding planner book, and take it to a fair like that. And for people in the UK, if you're listening, there's a really good website called Stall Finder. I think it's stallfinder.co.uk probably. But if you type in Stall Finder into Google, it'll come up. And it's basically an itinerary of all the stalls, all the fairs, everywhere you can book a stall to sell your books. It's different fairs, different markets. All the Christmas markets were there, all the whatever markets are coming up in the new year, they'll be there. So it's a really good place to look for a venue or for a stall or for even just your local schools. They always have summer fairs, Christmas fairs, things like that. And it's a great place to sell books. Obviously, you'll have to order your author copies well in advance because they take a while to arrive. But then you're good to go. You can sell them there.
Yeah, there's when I speaking of we were talking before about how I said I have books in stores I've never even been into. There is a site called indiebound.org, O-R-G. And if you go in there and you put in your zip code or your city or your address, like that's around you, you'll get a list of independent bookstores or bookstores that accept books from independent authors. And so you can find all these little bookstores that you might not even have known existed, and they're in there, and it'll have their address and their phone number to where you can reach out to them and ask them tell them a little bit about you and a little bit about your books, and see if they'd be interested in carrying your books in their store. And again, that's how I've gotten my books in stores in states I've never even been to. So again, just a little idea there. So again, it's indiebound.org.
That's fantastic information there. I'm sure a lot of people didn't know, me included. So that's a really good tip. Yeah, we need to, I'll probably search for things like that as well, because there must be a UK equivalent. And Yeah, I'll have a look and see what's available in the UK as well and the US, and if this comes up in a future podcast episode, we can maybe give more information on these kind of things that might be a good resource for people who are looking for ways to promote their books. Yeah. That's not paid.
So here's a question that I got. It didn't have a name attached to it, but they said, "What are your top 5 regrets?" And it was very vague. And I will say, especially when just in life, but especially in business, I really don't think I have any regrets, because I try to think of each hiccup, each mistake, if you will, as a lesson that I've learned. That's how I've gotten to where I am. This would be more like, what are my top 5 lessons?
Yeah, I so agree with that sentiment, because whenever someone asks me, or I ask myself, like, have I got any regrets in life generally, I always say, no, you can't have any regrets. I've done a lot of things wrong, and I wish I'd done things differently sometimes, but I never, ever have regrets, because if I didn't do those things, I wouldn't be where I am now, and I wouldn't be the person that I am now. And I think I've evolved, hopefully, from when I was younger. So yeah, definitely no regrets at all. But I agree with how you interpreted that, maybe 5 top lessons. Yeah.
So for me, my first lesson would be, this is not a one size fits all business. So don't listen to just one quote unquote guru, one person, because what works for Nuria may not work for you, may not work for me. Mm-hmm. What works for me may not work for Nuria, and so, and also there are people that, like, if you're looking on, whether it's blogs or on YouTube, there's people that may have done super well, and they might still be making a ton of money doing this, but they haven't published anything in 6 years. And the stuff on their YouTube channel is 6, 7, 8 years old. So what worked back then doesn't work now necessarily. It doesn't work the same way. So again, my first one would be, again, this is not one size fits all. My second one would be, don't be afraid to ask questions. The old adage that, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I truly believe that. I mean, I've had some ridiculous questions that I've asked, and I've held back asking them for too long. And then when I ask it, they're like, oh, here's the answer. And so, that's the only way to grow. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I might look the question up, on YouTube or on the internet or whatever first before I ask somebody. But at the end, if there's somebody that I respect in the industry, I'm going to ask them, so I might look something up. I might try something, but if it's, a question I still have like nagging in the back of my mind, I'm going to reach out to somebody that I respect in the niche and ask them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good thinking. So I don't know if I can think of, one thing that I recently sort of thought about was not to compare yourself to anybody else.
Yes.
I think that is a big one for me, because my whole life I've always compared myself to other people, and you tend to do that when you're younger anyway. That's just life. Everyone does it, and I think now that I'm a lot older, I feel more confident in myself. I think that comes with age as well, especially I think for women, especially. I just wish I hadn't worried so much about things in the past, and I used to compare myself to other people. And especially now that I'm doing this kind of work, I realize that what you see on social media, what you see people put out there about themselves, is not the whole picture. Right. People that look at my channel, they might think, oh, she's written books, she's done this, she's done that. Oh my God, it's too... people don't see what's behind the scenes. This isn't perfect. This is
Right.
none of the things you see on social media are real. It's all effect, smoke and mirrors, and a lot of makeup, and that's it. And I think the only thing you need to compare yourself with is yourself yesterday. Are you better today than you were yesterday? That's the only comparison that you need. And I think that is the one thing that I'm taking away from maybe that question. Do you have any regrets? No, none at all. But could I do things better? Yeah, I'm not going to compare myself to other people.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, another thing that I don't, it's not a regret, but, I waited almost 20 years to publish my first picture book because of waiting for it to be, for the illustrations and everything to be perfect. And so if you've listened to this podcast or you've watched my YouTube channel, everything, you've heard me say ad nauseum, done is better than perfect. And that's, so again, I never would have had that mentality had I not done that, and when I published it, guess what? It still wasn't perfect, but you know what? It's sold really well. And, I've gotten so many positive reviews on it and so many people telling me how much, their kid loved the book. And then I just think to myself, how many people could I have positively affected if I'd published it 20 years earlier,
Yeah.
And so again, it's not a regret because like I said, I've learned something from it, but, and hopefully by me learning that and saying that phrase, other people have learned it as well.
Yeah.
That, done is better than perfect. And again, not saying put out hot garbage, but, don't search for perfection because you'll never find it. And so, again, just like you said, just being better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that sentence, done is better than perfect, I've got that in my brain now because you said it. And the other day, my husband said, oh, don't do that. Done's better than perfect. I said, that's Keith's message. So ever since you mentioned that, it's really, I do take things in, and it's so true. Done is better than perfect. It really is. Otherwise, we keep overthinking things and we never get things done. Yeah. I think,
very true.
If I do have a regret, it sounds like a regret anyway. If I say, I wish I'd found KDP a long time ago, but then it didn't exist and computers didn't exist.
Right.
And I had a different life. I had a very busy life with my children growing up. So things come at the right time, I think.
Agreed.
And I'm just glad it came at all. So that's something to be thankful for.
And again, getting back to the no regrets, like if you hadn't gone through what you did with the blog, well, if you hadn't gone through the blog, you wouldn't have known about KDP, but also, with all of the experiences that you had, again, it brings you to who you are today, but also you might have just overlooked KDP. Oh yeah, I've heard of it, but you know what I mean? Because you wouldn't have appreciated it because you didn't have all that, backstory, if you will, that led you to it.
Absolutely. I so agree with that. Everything I've done in the past has kind of led me to this point, and it's really helped. Even though there were failures in the past, they weren't failures. I realize that now, that they were actually teaching moments, and now I know so much more that helps me on this journey. So
Exactly.
that's
So again, you might not have been as successful as you are now because you didn't learn those lessons.
definitely not. Yeah, I would definitely not have been as successful because I didn't know the things that I knew.
No, I agree.
No.
I would have, if I hadn't gone through the stuff that I've gone through, I would have quit, a long time ago and not gotten to where I am now.
Yeah.
I think probably the last, again, lesson that I could think of that one might look at as a regret, is nothing, and I mean nothing, beats hands-on training. Watching YouTube videos will only get you so far. And at one point, you have to do it. And so I spent, I don't even, countless hours early on. Once I got that first paycheck, and I was like, oh, nice. And, and I'd watched, countless videos on, how to write a great book, how to, do a great low content, no content book, whatever. And again, those were hours, days, weeks, months wasted, if you will, that I could have had something else published and created. But again, it taught me a lesson, that nothing beats hands-on training, because you can watch these videos all you want, but until you get till you get your hands dirty, if you will, and start creating and start, uploading it to KDP and everything else, until you do that, that's when the real rubber meets the road, and that's when the real learning begins. And those are the lessons that I keep with me, because I physically did it, or I did it and, did something wrong. But watching it on a video, I'm going to forget it, 2 weeks later. Whereas if something I've done, I'm less likely to forget.
Very true. That's something I'm going through at the moment with something else I'm doing. And I watched lots and lots of YouTube videos just to learn about it, to see if it's a good fit for me. None of that mattered until I actually tried it, because that was the real test. That's when I thought, this is how it's done. So yeah, absolutely. Doing is really important rather than learning from lessons. Yeah.
So what's your next question that you've got?
My next question, there's a funny one. And this was from Waylon Piper on my Facebook group. He asked, how much do you two check each other's work? Do you guys look over what each one is working on? Do I know what you're working on, Keith? And do you know what I'm working on?
We do chat, and we know what each other are working on. Don't know everything that you're working on.
You pretty much do.
Well, in that case, you pretty much know everything I'm working on too.
Yeah.
But as far as like going back and checking, I mean, like, I don't know Nuria's pen names. I don't know, Nuria doesn't know mine.
Yeah.
Except for the one that I shared in my course. But other than that, no. So we know pretty detailed, because we've been working together for as long as we have. But as far as like going back and checking, going back and looking at, their books or whatever, though I do have your nonfiction books. But as far as, like the pen names and things like that, no.
But we do check on each other's work. We always discuss what we're doing, what we're planning for this year.
Yeah, bounce ideas off each other.
Yeah, and I think that's nice. That I find that the KDP community, especially the people that are teaching, we've kind of got a little group of friends that we all know each other, and we don't look at each other as competition, because that would be easy to do. I could say, well, I don't want to tell Keith what I'm going to plan for this year, because he might copy me, or he might, and we don't have that. We're happy to share whatever we're doing, and if it helps another one, so much the better. So I think we're more like colleagues rather than competition. So that's the way I like to think of it. So we do.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I think the answer to that question is, we do check on what each other is doing. I think the more so now with what we're doing now, because what we did in the past is kind of old for both of us now anyway. That's when we were first starting out, and I rather some people don't see what my books were. Because then you think, oh gosh, how did you do that? My first books were terrible. That's all I can say. So they still sold, some of them, but it was a certain book that then took off, and that and we do share things. So, and I think that's a really good thing to do. And I think people should do more of that. They should. You should always have some sort of community with the people that are doing what you're doing. So I can be in a Facebook group that talks about KDP, but I'm also kind of in groups with people who are teaching about KDP. So I think that's important to kind of bounce ideas off each other as well, and to support each other. So that's something that I recommend anyone can do.
I agree. And the truth is there's so many ideas. There's just not enough time in the day for me to do everything that I have an idea for. So if I have an idea for something and I share it with you, it may be a better fit for you and your audience than me and my audience.
Yeah.
Or it might, it might be a better fit for you and your audience now. It just fits better with where you and your audience are. Whereas me, I might do it, 6 months from now, a year from now. There's again, it's not, us versus them kind of mentality.
Yeah.
We're all in this together, if you will. And this can be such a solitary job, life, if you will, that I think finding a group that you can share with is really what makes it more fun. And you'll be surprised at the ideas that others give you. And it may not be, Nuria said this, she's doing this, and so I'm like, ooh, that's a good idea, I'm going to do that. No, it might be she's doing this, and that makes me think of something related, but not exactly the same, or just open up my mind to a completely different thought.
Yeah. Because we're all different. We're not robots. Yeah. We're not all the same.
Right.
Your strengths are totally different to my strengths. And at the end of the day, we are here the reason we're doing these podcasts, YouTube channels, because we could quite easily just create books and be done with it. And that's our life, right. And sometimes I think, oh, that would be quite nice, actually. But we do want to help other people to do what we've done. That was one of my drivers, that I wanted other mums that needed to look after their small children to be able to work from home and do that. So that's one of the reasons I started to explain how I started making an income from this. So that's really at the core of it. So if anybody said to me, can you explain ads to me? I would quite happily say, go to Keith, because he's much better at running ads than I am, and that's your strength, and it's not one of mine. So I will happily, tell people so-and-so is much better for that kind of question. You'd get a better answer. So I've got no problems with that. And like I said, each of us is different. We teach differently. We have different topics. So and our listeners are different as well. And some people will gravitate towards you. Some people will gravitate towards me or to other people. And that's just, that's just how it works. And that's how it should be. That's, every person has their preference and learns in a different way to other people. And good job that there's different teachers to be able to cover that.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. Because I've actually done that not too long ago. Somebody was asking me a bunch of questions about brand building and things like that. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Go check out Nuria's book. Because she covers it like spot on. And I do brand. Obviously I have brands in the niches I'm in, but when it comes to brand building, the way you teach it is way better than what I've done, as far as like just the way to word it. So
thank you. That means a lot coming from you. It really does. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So here's the next question I have. And I'll be honest, I don't know if we're going to get to all the questions this episode. We might have to do a to be continued.
Second episode.
But this question is, have you ever thought about quitting?
Oh,
it was really that, that broad. Have you ever thought of quitting? Yep.
I have to admit I have. Yeah. Have you?
Okay. So writing, no. I don't think I could. I've been writing since I was 12, 13, 14, something like that. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother was a poet. And so I don't think I could quit. So I never thought of it. Online business, having, a YouTube channel. Yeah. To be honest, I've thought about quitting before.
Yeah.
Just like with any business or whatever, there's ups and downs, and there are, at points it's been, it would be a lot easier if I just, stopped doing this and only wrote my books, only worked on my puzzle books or whatever, and just, head down, focusing on this one thing. And I'd be able to, knock out more books. I'd be able to, based on math, I'd be able to make more money. But at the end of the day, I would be missing something, because like you said, I have this drive to help other people.
I totally agree. I mean, I answered straight away yes, because I was thinking of the YouTube side and the creating courses side and that kind of. I think, have a better and more peaceful life if I just concentrated on creating books. And that's my strength, and that's where I made most of my income from. Because it's hard to put yourself out there, especially when you hear a lot of negative things as well. Mm-hmm. Of course, it affects you. Of course, it kind of, it's a punch in the stomach when someone says something negative about you, because you think, wow, that's not how I meant to, I meant to help people. That was all that was behind it. But I think in time you learn to kind of see beyond that. And then the things that turn it around for me are usually the emails I get that say, thank you, I've just published my first book, or I've just won an award for my book, or what. Those are the things that keep me going. And, it's, I enjoy it. I do enjoy the work. I enjoy creating content. I enjoy learning about creating courses, different platforms to use. I always find that the best thing about this job is the learning. I learn every day, and I don't really want to stop that. And I think if I was just publishing books, I would probably not learn as much as I'm learning now. Even and putting yourself out there is another learning experience for me, because I'm an introvert. I don't like being in public and people seeing me, and it kind of feels, it doesn't feel so bad when it's behind a little camera on your screen, because you think, there's no one here. I'm just talking to myself. I'm talking to a friend. Mm-hmm. But really, once the video is live and then you get all the reactions and the comments, you suddenly realize, oh my God, I'm out there in the world for people to see. That can be hard. That's not an easy thing to do. And I understand why a lot of YouTubers give up and you don't see them anymore. A lot of KDPers that have disappeared, because it's tough. It's not an easy thing to do. So, but hopefully I'm strong enough to continue. I'm a tough cookie. So.
But no, I agree. And then when you add on there, doing live streams I've done, and they're a headache in and of themselves. And then the first, thumbs down you get, all those things. Email, if you have an email list and the first person that unsubscribes, that breaks your heart. And, but first negative review you get on your book, whatever. So like I said, as far as creating books, I don't think I've never thought of quitting. But yeah, the other stuff. Yeah, the stuff that takes me away from it, really. I mean, like I said, I could do more of that if I wasn't doing the other stuff. But I like you said, those messages that I get saying, you helped me make a lifelong dream come true or whatever. Those make it worth the headaches sometimes.
They really do. So keep them coming.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, they do make all the difference, because I love it when I see someone sending me photos of their stand at a book fair, or, you know, all those things, or they're really excited that they've got their book out. There's no better feeling than that, you know. And I always say to them, it's not, I didn't do that, you did that, you know.
Yeah.
It's lovely to know that I kind of helped a little
Agreed.
bit. So yeah, that's the difference. So I will continue to do it just for them. Yeah.
So you have another question?
Did I have another one? Let's have a look. Yes, Karen. This is one of those people that keeps me going. Karen is a lovely lady. She had a question. First of all, she suggested a topic, and she said, may you consider this topic because you cover more advanced work from home businesses. I would like to move beyond independently published and work with Amazon as a brand. For example, have access to brand marketing. So a brand as in a book brand. So that is something that we can cover. It's not actually a question to us at the moment, but she's asking if we could cover that. And I think we could cover that, couldn't we? Like branding for books. And then the other question was, she wanted to know what kind of equipment we use. Do we use like, what was that, ergonomic equipment or adaptive equipment? You know, so could we maybe make an episode about equipment we use? It kind of rings a bell. Did we do an episode like right at the beginning that we talk about equipment, or was that something we wanted to do?
I know we've talked about it when it comes to creating YouTube videos. But I don't think we've done anything for actual writing. I do, to answer the question, I do have ergonomically correct keyboards and mouse, and obviously the chair that I sit in and things like that. I actually have a raised stand on my desk, so I can use it as a standing desk as well. So again, that helps. So as far as answering that question, those are my answers for that.
Yeah, I have none of that. I've got a very bog standard mouse. I've got a bog standard keyboard. The light is blinding me. I can hardly see. My chair is not the most comfortable. It's just very stylish looking. We like the look of it, and that's why we bought it. And no one can even see it. And so my setup is completely wrong for me. And the older I get and the more aches and pains I get from sitting here, the more I'm thinking about that sort of equipment. So yeah, I'd be quite happy to do an episode later on once we've tried some things out.
Yeah.
And
I'm part of the Amazon influencer videos. And we can definitely, get some products and try them out as well. Let us know if you'd be interested in us doing episodes like that, where we actually will go over some products that we've done, and maybe share the links to them so you can check them out for yourself. Let us know if that's something you'd be interested in.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I've got one last question. Maybe we can cover this quickly because I think I know we briefly discussed it before, and this comes from Celso Arevalo, and he's asking, is it advisable to pay for advertising a book using the publishing performance platform, or is it better to publish, I think he means advertise directly on Amazon? So I had never heard of the publishing performance platform, and I looked into it a little bit. And I have to say personally, when I don't know about a platform, there's not really anything I can say about it.
Right.
But if I had to give an answer, I would say always advertise on Amazon and run the ads yourself rather than give that to somebody else. Because first of all, it's a good learning experience to be able to run ads yourself. And second, I don't know that platform, so I wouldn't take a risk probably. What do you think, Keith?
I agree. I've not heard of them either. Not saying that they're bad, but again, just to mirror what you said, Amazon ads are, from my experience, one of the best platforms to run ads on. I mean, these people already. I mean, people are on Amazon, have their wallets out. They're what we call a warm audience. And we've done videos on Amazon ads, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but also what you were saying, getting your hands dirty, is what I was saying before about, the lessons learned is that nothing beats doing it yourself. There are places out there that you can hire to run your Amazon ads for you. That said, I truly believe that you before you hire anybody to do anything, you need to do it yourself first. That way, one, how are you supposed to know if they're doing it properly if you don't know the proper way to do it? Two, if you're doing it, if you just let somebody else do it, then you don't know how long it should take, how much it's worth. They're charging you X amount of dollars. Is it really worth that? Well, you don't know because you've never done it yourself. You don't know how much time it's saving you or how much effort it's saving you. And so to find the value in something, you have to, in my opinion, you have to have done it yourself first. So I would personally, I would stick to Amazon ads.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go beyond Amazon ads, there are other platforms, obviously, that you can go with. But I've never hired anyone to run my ads for me. Yeah. And trust me, I'm not the best at Facebook ads or anything like that. I've seen success in them, but there's definitely people out there better. But again, as for that particular platform, I can't speak to it. So, with any authority. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's the same for me. Because I don't know the platform, I can't really advise. But if you really wanted to try a platform that things that you think will help you, I would make sure that I hear from people who have tried it. Yep. And see what they say about it and see if it was worth it for them. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question with authority because I didn't even know about them. So,
yeah. And I would say to kind of pigtail on that, not just talk to people who have used them, but make sure that you're talking to people that you've reached out to that have used them. Like from a Facebook group or whatever, not the people that company is telling you to listen to. You know what I mean? Obviously, they have a vested interest. Talk to other people in a Facebook group or whatever. And if you ask and nobody's heard of them, that might be your answer right there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's all the questions for now. I think we still have a few, but maybe we'll leave that for another episode. If we get any more as well, we can, if people want to send us more questions, we'd be happy to cover them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I've got, like I said, a couple more that we got, but we can definitely cover that in another episode, and we can just add on to that any questions that we get from this episode as well as future episodes.
Yeah. So we've survived our 100th episode.
Yes, we have, and like I said, I've absolutely loved it, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
Me neither.
Now, just a reminder that if you haven't heard about it before, we do have a send us a text option down in the show notes for most platforms that host the podcast. You click on send us a text, and you basically you can put your questions in there, or if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, you can just put them in the comments. And also, there is now a support the show link on podcast platforms. So if you want to become a monthly supporter of the show, you can do it for as little as $3 a month. Never expected, but always appreciated. But other than that, this has been another great mastermind, Nuria. Once again, a huge thank you to all our listeners and viewers who came to tag along. And if you enjoyed today's mastermind, please consider following or subscribing to the podcast, and maybe even leave us a review and let us know what you thought. Until next time, I'm Keith Wheeler.
And I'm Nuria Colby.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the Mastermind today. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice and tell a friend who would enjoy it too. Your support is greatly appreciated. This has been the Masterminding Success Podcast.